Hey guys, so basically today's episode is going to be about podcasts, like which ones I'm listening to and recommend, and then maybe you guys could recommend me some because I am new to the podcast game. That's why this video is coming out now. Also I'm congested, by the way, sorry. But yeah, so I'm pretty late, but now I'm hooked, and I just want to keep listening to like any and every podcast. But today I'm going to just talk about 4 podcasts I'm currently listening to. So the first one's Dirty John. It's an investigative journalism story told by Christopher Goffard, I believe. And it's basically about this woman, Deborah. She meets this man online, like a dating website. His name's John. Dirty John. Sorry. And he's like a sketchy dude. And she kind of just like learns more about him as their relationship progresses. And none of her family likes him. His family calls him like sketchy, all this stuff. And like, so basically Christopher Goffard, the journalist, he because this is a true story, by the way, which it makes it like 10 times like, wait, what? But interviews Deborah, John's family, and her family. And the podcast is basically like learning more about Dirty John himself, like the sketchy man. So that's like the short, really bad synopsis, I guess, because I don't want to spill the tea of what happens. But it's like, it's a ride. It's like, what? All I'm saying is stay careful online. But the second one I'm listening to is totally different. It's How I Built This. It's an NPR podcast. And I forgot, it's like Ted Ross, I think, is the host. But he just interviews company, like CEOs. Yeah. So, yeah, the CEOs of companies that are, like, really successful. So, I just listened to the one about Airbnb and, like, how it all started. Like, I learned they failed, like, miserably at first. And you kind of just, like, learn about the company. Because you hear all these company names all the time, like Spanx, Airbnb, da-da-da-da, and it's like, oh wow, you know they're successful, but then hearing the story behind them, like how it all started and all the failures and the ups and downs and stuff, it's kind of inspirational, you know? So I really like listening to that one, and it has a totally different vibe than Dirty John, but that one I do recommend. Well, I recommend both, but I really like How I Built This. Then the third one is Small Doses with Amanda Seal. It's a totally different vibe from How I Built This. It's more of a relaxed, chill type of podcast, but she basically just talks about anything and everything, and it's just like a super relatable podcast, especially if you're a woman of color, you know? And like, she makes you laugh. It's like a comical podcast, but she gives advice as well. Yeah, that's how I'm going to describe it. It's a comical advice podcast type of thing. So you can send in questions and she'll answer and stuff like that. But it's so like chill and relaxed, and I love it. And then, yeah, she's just funny. And it's similar to that, it's Friend Zone. I only listened to one episode of it, but it has the same thing, and I recommend both of those ones. So the fourth podcast I'm listening to is by Cole Kushner, and it's Dissect. It's a serialized podcast, and it's amazing. My friend Kati just told me about it, and she was like, if you're into podcasts now, you have to listen to this one. So it's a music podcast, which I love music, so you know. Okay, but Cole Kushner, he basically chooses an artist each season, and he picks a particular project from them. So I'm listening to the first season, and it's about Kendrick Lamar, and it's about Kendrick's To Pimp a Butterfly project. And he basically like explains the narrative arc as a whole and how each song ties into the narrative arc, and also how it ties into Kendrick or the artist themselves. So yeah, that's it. You basically like learn more about the artist and why they write the way they do. Like, you just kind of learn more about like the background of the artist and like what they were trying to get at with their projects. So the first season's Kendrick's To Pimp a Butterfly. The second season's Kanye West the fantasy, it's like fantasy, like, hold on, it's My Beautiful Twisted Fantasy. And then the third one is kind of different because it's Frank Ocean, which I love Frank, but it's like Chanel Orange and Blonde. So he's the only one who has like 2 projects tied into like one season. But my friend Kati told me, like, you have to listen to this podcast because, like, Frank Ocean's, like, a genius, and da-da-da-da, and you kind of just, like, learn more about Frank. So, and, like, the way he writes and the references he makes and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. But that's basically all the podcasts I'm listening to right now. I'm gonna start Serial maybe, like, after, I don't know, after Dissect, I'll probably start Serial because that's supposed to be investigative journalism story, kind of like Dirty John, and I like those type of podcasts. But please recommend me some in the comments down below, some whatever, like it could be about anything and everything. I don't care, I just want to listen to more podcasts. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'm sorry I sound sick. I'm sorry about like this lighting situation right now, but thank you. Peace and love.